Never worked much on my pronunciation. If that okay.
Okay.
Oh. ॐ सहनौ भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सदाशिव समारम्भां शङ्कराचार्य मध्यमम् अस्मत् आचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा कर्पण्यदोषोपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वं धर्मसम्मूढचेतः यश्चेह स निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शादि मम त्वं प्रपन्नम् ॐ वङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् अवीरवीर्म एदि वेदस्य मा अनिष्टः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहस्सिः अनेनादीतेन अहोरत्रं सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तरम् अवतु मम अवतु वक्तरम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ भद्रं कर्णिभिः शृणुयामदेवः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्रः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवग्वं सस्तनूभिः वशेमा देवाहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिपृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वा पवित्रो वजीनिव स्व अमृतम् अस्मि द्रविणग्वं सवर्चसं सुमेध अमृतोक्षिताः इति त्रिशङ्कुर्वेदानुवचनम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
everyone. Thank you for the seva. Narayan everyone. Happy long weekend. No, let's okay. Let's just get started. It's fine. Sorry, we're just setting the laptop.
So first of all, Narayan auntie, Kakuli's mom is here joining our class today, joining our satsang. So thank you very much for joining us, auntie, and blessing us with your grace. Okay, so we'll go to 45, Shlok 45. Chapter 6, Shlok 45. So we're nearing the end of the chapter. Okay. We'll complete the chapter today, right? So it'll be fine. Bhagyashree, you had asked for the last class to be uploaded. I'll upload both the classes today at once. Sorry, I did not, I wasn't able to do that before this. So after this class, I'll upload both the sessions, the last one and today. So we'll start with connection here. Now we're coming to the end of this chapter, and what we did mostly in the last class was really answer Arjuna's question. So Arjuna had asked a question. He had a doubt that so his first doubt had been that, okay, I understand that controlling of mind is extremely important, but I think it is extremely difficult to control mind because it is so turbulent and it is so strong. It is unyielding, it is stubborn. So how do I go about doing it? And Sri Krishna had answered his question saying that I understand, I empathize with you, and I agree that mind has all of these characteristics. But with practice, with Abhyas Yoga, it is possible to bring it under control. So the only way to bring it under control is to constantly practice trying to get it under control, right? Or trying to direct it to the right thing. Mind always needs something to hold on to. So when we say we are trying to control it, it basically means that we are trying to channelize it so that instead of holding on to the sansar and sansarikta, we hold on to the Lord. Okay, we move away from holding on to unreal and move our mind to hold on to the real. Then he had a question like, okay, so I have full belief, I have full faith that all of this happens, but then what happens to me if I am not able to maintain that control of mind all through, and I'm not able to maintain the discipline all through? Then there was this natural doubt that occurred to him. Hey, so if I am not able to do this correctly, then neither am I enjoying the worlds or fruits of this world, nor am I going to get the fruits of hereafter. So then what happens to me, right? Like I'm then neither here nor there. And Krishna has answered his question by telling him, which in Shloka 40, and this is a step higher to the assurance that he had given us in chapter 2 in Shloka 40, when he said that the practice of this karma yoga and dhyan yoga now is one of those few things in this world that has no pratyavaya. It has no pratyavaya means no side effect. If you don't do it correctly, or either you don't practice it correctly, or if you don't practice it fully, it will not have any negative side effect. It only has positive accumulative effects. So whatever you do, whatever practice you do, you keep accumulating its benefit. And depending on how much you have accumulated in this lifetime, your next life is going to be determined based on that. None of the effort is ever lost. That's the assurance Shri Krishna has given. And then he talks about so the word that has been used to describe people who have been on this path but have not been able to fully discipline themselves. The word is called yoga bhrasht, the yoga lapsed people. Yoga bhrasht, people who are on the path of yoga but got distracted along the way because of whatever reasons, right? So Lord says that such yoga bhrasht people will find, when they are ready, or will find themselves on the path of yoga again, and they will get that they will get the right circumstances will be created for them to start their journey from where they had left off. Now, another thing here is, how do you ensure that, right? How does Krishna ensure that we will actually have that opportunity again? So he's described two types of yoga bhrasht people. There is one type of yoga bhrasht person who has who has reached very, very high in his journey. He is almost there, right? For those people, he said that, first of all, he said such people are extremely rare. The kind of birth they get is that they are born in a family of yogis. So first of all, family of such yogis, people who are realized saints themselves and are still in grahast ashram, such families are anyway very rare, but they are there, and they are there for a very right, for a purpose of bringing such saints back into their life so that they can complete their journey. So such people are born in in a family of yogis, where from a very early age onwards, such saints are able to realize what their true path was, and then they follow that path, and very early in their age they are able to complete their journey. There were certain examples also that were given to us. For example, Adi Shankaracharya Maharaj, and there are other such names who, by the time they're 5, 6, 7, they have already realized what their path was. And before they are even 30 or so, they have reached very high levels of realization. And then, like Adi Shankara Maharaj, he actually discarded his mortal coil at the age of 32 because he had completed everything that he had come into this world to complete. Okay, but these type of births are extremely rare. So what is the other type of yog bhrasht? The other type of yog bhrasht are people like us. Every single one of us who has the blessing to hold Gita in our hands today, right? We are all yoga bhrasht people who have found a path back to our journeys. So all of us, whether a person has started chapter 1 today, he has done 3 rounds or 2 rounds or 1 round, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because that this journey is not, you could be a person joining the first time, but you have accumulated so much in your previous lifetimes that you are already a guru for all of us, right? So it doesn't matter, but the point is that we are all yoga bhrasht. So such yoga bhrasht people, Shri Krishna ji says, will be born in a family of prosperous but pious family. Why prosperous? And what does prosperous mean here? Prosperous means that you will not have to work and constantly think about the basics of life. Where will I get my food from? Where will I get my next? Where will I sleep? Your basic Maslow's hierarchy, your lowest things are completely taken care of. And we all can recognize that for ourselves, right? Everything, we don't have, like, our needs, our real needs are already taken care of. Physical needs are already very well taken care of. In fact, we are way higher above that, right? We have help in our homes, we have families that are very supportive, we have general environments that are very supportive, which allow us for the first time that we are able to actually take out time on a weekly basis to come for this class. That itself is such a big blessing. So many people do not have that. They do not have Gita in their hands. They do not have the blessing of such a satsang where we can come together, and they do not have the blessing of having such a time that they are able to actually come in. All of this happens because of his kripa. It does not happen because we want it. Of course, we want it as a starting point, but end of the day, his grace has to be there. His anugrah, his anukampa has to be there for us to start on this journey. So, this is similar to when we say, Vaishno Mata. Vaishno Mata, आपका जाने का बहुत मन होगा. You want to go to Vaishno Mata, but you get to go there only जब माता का बुलावा आता है. This is a very common saying there, कि आप जाएंगे जब माता का बुलावा आएगा. She has to have that anugrah, she has to have that anukampa on you, that she says, now you're ready, come and visit me. Otherwise you cannot go, right? So this is similar to that. We have to put in our effort, our heart and soul into it, but then when his anugrah happens, because he thinks our patrata is ready, we are ready to receive his anugrah, is when he is going to give us, he will make the world available to us for continuing our journey. So that is the meaning of prosperity, right? Prosperity for where we will have the ability to take out time to devote to this path. That is prosperity. And then a pious family, a family that will provide the right environment for us, or for our journey to blossom. This is his anugrah, right? So So this is what Sri Krishna told him, that do not worry, keep going on this path, and then while being on this path, nothing is lost. You will get all the felicity that you have gathered based on your actions. So you're not letting go of anything. It isn't as if like I'm neither here nor there. In fact, you are receiving all the benefits of this world, and you're receiving the benefits hereafter. In fact, you are a double beneficiary, and not like I'm not going to get benefit from each side. Now, having heard this, then it's very easy for us to get into a space of like, oh, that's a pretty good option. Right now I will follow this path as much as I want, and then when I don't want, I can go and lapse into my material world as well. Let's go chill out here, and then in some small spaces when it's convenient to me, let's go and do some meditation, because you know what, like I don't have to reach moksha in this life. I can do it like after 20 lifetimes and enjoy my life along the way. Now that is a very slippery path to think about. Why? Because while he has given us the assurance that you as Yoga Bhrasht will find yourself with a pious and prosperous family to continue your journey, what he has not said is that you will get it in the very next lifetime. At some point of time, you will get that chance, some point of time, which means that right after this, if you have not been very conscious of your behavior, then you've obviously collected prarabdha. You have collected, you have done certain actions, the consequences of which you have collected, which you have to pay for. And that could mean either that you are going to go into a bhog yoni, right? Bhog yoni is where you do not have a choice. Only human species has a choice of yoga. So you will go into a bhog yoni. It could be a bhog yoni of positive nature, where you will have to fulfill all the good actions you have done to achieve certain positive outcomes. I want money, I want fame, I want luxury. You will have to go through a bhog yoni to go through all of that, to partake of those positives that you had worked so hard for. Or it could be negative. You have done some certain you have behaved in certain manner, like greed or lust, or you've been running after desires and have accumulated negative karma after that. So you will have to go through the negative yonis as well. Now it might seem like, and some of these yonis, some of these species and their life forms and their lifetimes are actually very, very small. Some of them could be like just a few seconds. It isn't about what you experience during that lifetime. What is more than whatever you may experience in those lifetimes, the process of birth and the process of death for every single life form, it has 1,000 times more pain associated with it. And that is just the fact that you have to be born in any kind of life form, whether it's human or any other, that passage in and passage out is very, very, very painful. Now, Lord has obviously given us the benefit, or he has granted us this, that we forget what that pain was, because if we always remember completely, it would be impossible for us to even go through that process again. But there's that partial amnesia we have. Every single child that is born comes out crying, and we all have a mortal fear of death, because that experience somewhere in our deep genes, we remember how painful this is. Okay, so we don't want to go through that if we can avoid it. And again, even if we are born in a pious and prosperous family, it is very possible that some of our negative prarabdha and our negative sanskars latch on before we even have a chance to get onto the right path. And what if we go down that slippery slope very quickly, right? Then it's always, because we have a choice, we may in another future lifetime actually deviate further away from Bhagwanji than going closer to him. So there is just too many ifs and buts for future. What is only given is this moment that we have. So do not lose this lifetime. Now that we have come back on this path, now that we have understood what our real motive is, now that we have found scriptures to help us and guide us, let us not lose this really, really precious, rare, and golden opportunity to find our exit, to get to our ultimate welfare. Okay. So we will go to Shloka 45 now. Sanchita, would you like to read with us? Connection for 44.
The Lord speaks of a special feature which characterizes a yoga lapsed person born in a family of yogis as compared to one born in a pious, prosperous family.
Prayatnadyatmanastu.
Prayatnadyatmanastu.
Very nice. Yogi samshuddha kilbishaha.
Yogi samshuddha kilbishaha.
Aneka janma samsiddhihi.
Aneka janma samsiddhihi.
Tato yati param gatim.
Tato yati param gatim.
So prayatna adyatman astu is one who strives assiduously, one who strives very hard. Yogi is yogi, one who is connected to the Lord. Samshuddha kilbishaha is sins, and samshuddha is purified. So purified of sins. Anek janma samsiddhi is has attained perfection through many births. Anek, many, janma, birth, samsiddhi, attained perfection. And tato is that person. So that person who has achieved perfection through many births. Yati param gatim, achieves the highest goal. Param, highest. Gati is the goal, has had the highest attainment that is possible.
I'll read.
Yes.
But the yogi, purified of sins and having attained perfection through many births, strives assiduously and achieves the highest goal. The special feature of a person born in the family of yogis. Such a person, propelled by the force of the practice pursued in former births, gets purified of all sins. Availing of the chances offered in this birth for practice of discipline, there is an intense effort for perfection. On account of this, the highest goal of self-realization is achieved in no time in this birth.
So this is the same example that I'd given last class, right? Like when a traveler goes and he's traveling from one destination to the other, at night, suppose he's going from Bombay to Delhi by road. He'll stop over halfway through. He'll go stay in a hotel. Next morning, when he wakes up and he continues, will he have to start back from square one? No, he'll start from where he is, right? So Bhagwanji in this shloka is giving us that assurance that all the work that you do, it stays with you and it keeps moving you forward on that journey. And the second assurance that he's giving is as long as you keep striving assiduously, this will be achieved in almost no time.
This is specifically for yogis.
Yeah, it's for yogis, but it's also
Right?
for
Just
our own
that
reference.
but that,
that-
these guys
that-
get done very quickly.
Yes, that they get done very quickly, but make no mistake, we are also there.
Exactly. Yeah.
We are also very yog brushed. We also have the Gita in our hand, and we also have the opportunity to release ourselves from this cycle within this lifetime. Right? All of us are slightly different ways on the journey, but all of us know what the end goal is, and all of us know what the practice is. There is no confusion there, right? And it's just a matter of how much commitment we have towards our own self and our own benefit.
And as Kumar always reminds us in our class, Savdhani is sadhana. And it is if we are not careful, we could be all the way to point number 99. And from that 99, that snake is going to bite us one snake and it takes us back to number 1, right? Where we have to start all over again. And there's an example in Srimad Bhagavad that is given of Raja Rishabh. He was an extremely pious person and he was almost a realized saint. In fact, he was born in the family of kings and he discharged his duties the entire life as a perfect karma yogi. and he was an example. He was one of those who was extolled by the world as an epitome of karma yoga. And at the end of his, towards the end of his, he took a vanprastha ashram where he gave away his duties to his children. And then he said, okay, now it's time for me to purify myself, cleanse myself again, and get ready for my paramgati. He went to the forest in his vanprastha ashram, and there, in a certain circumstance, he got attached to a baby deer. Basically, the baby deer, there was a certain circumstance that got created, a leela got created for his own benefit, and the mother deer died, leaving the little baby deer alone and he found that baby deer going away in a flow of water. So he jumped in to save the baby deer and took that little doe back home, and he started caring for that like his own child. And in that moment, he got massively attached. And that attachment, imagine, he was at the epitome of karma yoga. He got attached to that baby deer, and that caused him to have a fall in the grace from 99 to that number 1 in his next lifetime. As when he was dying, right, in his attachment, he was so deluded that delusion caused him to fall off a cliff. When he was looking for the baby deer who had at one point of time gone lost, he fell off the cliff in darkness, and all he was thinking about was that baby deer in that moment. And as Bhagwanji has given us an assurance, whatever you are thinking of in the last moment, you will attain that. You think of me, you will attain me. You think of something else, you will attain that. And in the very next shloka, what he has told us, whatever you have been thinking of before this time is what you will think of in that last moment, right? So Maharaja was thinking about that baby deer when he fell off the cliff and he died. In his next lifetime, he was born as a deer. And after that, he had to go through another cycle. And then he learned through that lifetime of being a deer of what mistakes he had made, of how silly he was that he let himself be deluded by attachment one more time. And so then he decided that he wants to be born again. And he prayed to Lord a lot that please give me that chance again. And this time he decided that because he was so scared of that attachment, he was born as a Jada Rishabh. So in his next lifetime, he was born as somebody who consciously, even though he was very high in terms of his consciousness level, he decided to appear to the rest of the world as if he was Jad, as if he was not smart, as if he had no idea what to do in this world. And he was the firstborn in his family. But his father did not give him any responsibilities because he appeared to be a little like mad person, that he could not be trusted with any worldly activities. So he did not get married. He did not have any responsibilities. His younger brother got all the responsibilities of the household and all, and he was left free to pursue the path that he wanted to pursue. There's an entire story of how he went through that lifetime and how he attained perfection after that. But this is an example why I'm giving is because for us to realize how you can fall from 99 to 1 with just one little mistake. So savdhani is sadhana. At every moment of our lives, that one little lapse we allow ourselves, we have to get very strict with ourselves in terms of what we allow ourselves, what we don't allow ourselves. And yet at the same time, I'm saying this because we are always talking about these two dualities, right? This world is full of dualities because we are living in a dual world. You have to be strict with yourself, but at the same time, you have to be very kind to ourselves. Do not be harsh to yourself. Be kind, be loving, but yet hold yourself to a very high standard. And it's a fine line that we will learn to practice and walk on as we practice it. There is no other way to learn. And for Abhyas Yoga, because Abhyas Yoga has been consistently pushed upon in this chapter, I thought I will share with you a story I read last week in a book that I was reading. So there is this. This is a documented story in Harvard. So there was a Harvard professor who was taking a certain course. So in one term of that course, he divided the entire class into two groups. To one group, he basically told them it was they were going to take photographs. Both the entire term, they were supposed to take photographs. So to one group, he basically said that you will be graded only on one thing: the number of photographs you take. That's it. Don't care about the quality, don't care about what you do, what happens. I want the number of photographs. The more number of photographs you take, the higher will be your grade. The second group was given the work that you will be graded on the quality of your photographs. Don't care how many you take only one, but you will be graded only on that quality. So what happened? Naturally, if you give both of them these two very different value systems, their actions are going to be extremely different, right? So one group went nuts taking photographs. They just took photographs all day long without any regard to the theory at all. All they did was take photographs, 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 photographs. And of course, they were learning as they went along. The other group went deep down into studying the theory, and they went into the theory and they tried to learn, they tried to understand how do you take the right exposure, how do you set the frames right, what is the lighting, how should you manage this, what is the role of the instrument that you use, all of those things, right? And then they took photographs accordingly. End of the semester, what was amazing as a result was that the group that was given the task to only take photographs, the number of photographs, the result, that first of all, of course, they took way more photographs, 100,000 times more photographs than the first group. But what was interesting was that the quality of their output was far, far higher than those that spent long hours in theory. Okay, so the rest of the first group spent a lot of time theorizing, planning, thinking, writing, but they spent very little time in practice. And so the quality of their work was far, far inferior, even though they had more knowledge about the subject. So what was the end outcome of this? What is the learning? The learning is that yes, theory is important, but it does not take us any further unless we put it into practice. Getting into these classes is of no use unless we do the rest of the process. Shravan, Manan, Nidhidhyasan, which will then lead to Kirtan. But Shravan, after Shravan, Manan and Nidhidhyasan, Abhyas Yoga is this, Manan and Nidhidhyasan. Manan and Nidhidhyasan on a daily basis, Swadhyaya on a daily basis, and then what it means to me on my daily activities. How do I implement it in my daily activities? If we are not doing that Manan and Nidhidhyasan, then we are not going to get anywhere. Yeah. Next shloka. Naina, will you read with us?
Now the Lord compares three types of persons engaged in strenuous practice with a yogi who is an aspirant for the yoga of meditation.
Tapasvyo adhiko yogi.
Tapasviyabhyo adhiko yogi.
Jnaninobhyopi matodhikaha.
Jnaninobhyopi matodhikaha.
Sorry. Jnanibhyopi matodhikaha.
Jnanibhyopi matodhikaha.
Karmibhyashchadhiko yogi.
Karmibhyashchadhiko yogi.
Tasmadyogi bhavarjuna.
Tasmadyogi bhavarjuna.
Tapasvi is ascetic. Adhik is more or superior or better. Yogi. Then Jnani Bhyopi. Jnani is a knowledgeable person, right? Api is and or compared to. Mato is my belief or mera manya hai. Main manta hu, my view, as per my view. Adhikaha is again more or better or superior. Karmibhyashchadhiko, karma yogi, man of action. So not karma yogi, it's karmi, right? Karmi is a man of action. Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. So the words are similar. Yogi is yogi. That yogi bhavarjuna is better Arjun. Okay, so you become that yogi Arjun. That's the last sentence.
A yogi is superior to an ascetic and is even superior to a man of erudition. The yogi is superior to a man of action, and so, O Arjuna, become a yogi. Superiority of a yogi to an ascetic, to an erudite person, and to a man of action. The yogi engaged in the yoga of meditation is superior to an ascetic, The word ascetic means a person who performs severe penance to withstand the effects of extreme heat and cold, comforts and discomforts, and other pairs of opposites. Such persons achieve the highest distinction in the field of physical fortitude, but if they do not apply their powers to the attainment of realization, then their place would be inferior to that of a yogi practicing meditation.
So here
Similarly,
let's stop and understand the distinction here, right? So there are two types of people that we're talking about. One is a yogi, and the other is a person who is able to withstand severe effects of hot and cold. And both of these examples we see in our life every day. We always look at Guinness Book of World Records, right? You have all these individuals who've gone through extreme situations and have done thousands of hours of practice, have incredible control over their mind, right? Where they're like, no, I'm not going to cave in, push the limits of their body to achieve a particular outcome or a goal. On the gross perception of it, we do exactly the same. We also want to control the mind. We also want to be able to not have reaction to the sansaric stimuli, so that we are focused on our goal. So on the gross action, it looks identical. But in this shloka, it's very clearly said the yogi is more superior. What is the missing link of that Guinness Book World Record chaser, who also has tremendous mind control? The missing link is yogi, by definition, connects everything back to God.
The purpose.
The purpose. For the person, for the Guinness Book World Record holder, it would likely stem from I and my control, and I am better than you. And so the purpose of why you're doing something would define whether you are a yogi or you're doing it because of ego or any other reason, right? So for us as yogis, it's really important that we constantly stay connected to Bhagwanji by asking what is the purpose of this action and sticking to that purpose rather than the outcome. And the purpose, of course, being Lok Sangra and everything else that we've discussed earlier.
Self-realization.
Please continue.
Similarly, a man may attain great concentration of mind and the highest erudition by Herculean efforts to master the scriptures. But if he does not use his knowledge for self-realization, his place too would be considered to be inferior to that of a yogi. The yogi is similarly superior to a performer of great but undedicated deeds.
So now let's take a look at the second part, right? Second part is you have a yogi and you have a person who has deep knowledge about all the scriptures.
Or any subject.
Or any subject. But just for the sake of example, let's take the scriptures. From the gross perception, they both are doing the right thing. They both are dwelling and filling their intellect with the scriptures. But the yogi is using his intelligence then to, as Tuina referred earlier, to implement, to bring it in life, to use that, use these principles and this life to do good for others around us, right? An intellectual person who's just attached to the scriptures, his main motivation, if I can assume, would be to sound intelligent, to get vavai from people, to get validation from people, right? And they're very quick to say, yeah, I know, and put the other person down. But that's not a yogi, right?
Yeah. You would hear, like, when you see these people are generally, the word in Hindi that is used is called Pandit. So they are Pandit in a certain field. And we have heard of, the two great Pandits, they are going to come in and they are going to do an argument So the argument, whether it is an argument or whether it's a conversation, right? All of that depends on where each of the people in a conversation are coming from. Are they attached to their position and they are trying to, what is the purpose of that conversation? If you're coming from the lower S self, then your purpose is going to be, defense of yourself, or winning an argument, or proving that you are right, that sort of thing. Whereas when you're going into the conversation with your attachment to the higher self, then the understanding in any conversation would be, or the goal in any of these kind of pandit-like conversations is going to be to understand, and to understand the other person's position, and to be able to converse what I am talking about, and then to be able to come to a co-creation, a co-understanding, an understanding where both of us have created something new and achieved a higher understanding with each other. Now, this is for the erudites, right? Now, the people who are approaching their discipline in the right manner, they will, with the right purpose, they will naturally gravitate towards the Lord, towards the highest realization. So Einstein had once very famously said that the more you understand science, the closer you get to Lord, the closer you get to God, right? The more you understand what God really is and how it is. So you can see where he's coming from, and how if you go down the same rabbit hole the right way, where you will end up. Now, bringing it down to our level of conversations, what does it mean for us? There is a book that I read called Crucial Conversations, right? So in Crucial Conversations, in that book, he was talking about some of the main components of creating the crucial conversations in the right manner. And it struck me that a lot of the basics, in fact, most of the basics there are directly lifted from Gita. So the one that is directly relevant here was discussion. When you go into a crucial conversation, ask yourself, what is your motivation? What is your purpose? And he also talked about how quickly we move from the higher self to the lower self. Of course, he's not using those words, but I can connect it back to what we are reading here. So, for example, you go into a conversation, say about, in an office environment, you get into a conversation where you're trying to refurbish the office. And we are talking about budget, you're talking about what you're going to do. So you go into the conversation saying that we are going to come to a conclusion around how we refurbish the office. And somebody comes in and then he says, I can't even believe you guys are looking at spending so much of money on just furniture. And what happens? Immediately, my focus or my purpose will shift from getting a conclusion on the office to, or the office furniture or the redecoration, down to safeguarding myself, or to defend myself, and to win an argument. And we start off by correcting people first. I'm sorry, but all of this is not for just for furniture. It is for entire refurbishment of the office, right? So we start by correcting, and then we start talking about the details, and then immediately we get into defensive postures. So in that moment, we have gone from the higher self to the lower self, and that's where the conversations start to get ugly. Okay. I would recommend everyone who is interested in reading that book. It's a very, very good book. And once you start reading it, you'll see how many principles of Gita are being applied. In fact, any really, really good book, when you read it, you will realize that the reason their ideas stick is because they all are rooted in the universal principles, which we are reading even in Gita. And then finally, yogi superior to a performer of great but undedicated deeds. You want to discuss that? Yeah. So here I would say it's it's a direct answer to a lot of some of the questions that we ask when we just start out on the path of Gita. I'm a good person. I'm doing all the right things. Why do I have to read Gita? Right? Because you could be doing all the right things. You're doing all the good deeds. But if you are not reading Gita, then what is the problem? The problem with doing good deeds is that it is a very quick feeder of our ego. If we are not dedicating actions to the Lord, then we are automatically dedicating it to ourselves. And so it will feed your ego into a space of like, I am the doer of these good deeds. मैंने दान किया, मैंने लोगों का अच्छा किया, मैंने लोगों का भला किया. right? It becomes very, very quickly to that state, and then that immediately takes us away from our path to the ultimate realization. That is why a yogi is superior to a performer of great but undedicated deeds. When you're not dedicating your deeds to the Lord, then you're not a yogi, you're not connected to him, right? So I remember there was there is a doha in which the speaker says, I do not remember who the speaker is. It is either Rahim or it is someone else. But basically he said that one of the greatest jo Akbar ke one of the nine ratan of the 9 gems of Akbar, he used to be one of them, used to be a very big he used to give a lot of charity. Every week, once a day, he would feed people. Whoever would come to him, he would just give you whatever they ask him. He would give them that charity without asking questions ever again, right? So he would just give that charity, and people would obviously thank him, and they would be like really so grateful to him. So whenever he used to give charity, his eyes would always be downcast and his head would be bowed. And he said why he has to do that is that he says that this charity is not coming from me, but people think it is coming from me. So they thank me. I have to be very careful. I have to keep my head bowed so that I remember that this charity is not coming from me. It is coming from him. I am just a medium. And my eyes have to be downcast because I'm ashamed that people think it is me. I'm not that person. I'm not that great. It is his greatness that is flowing through me. So my eyes must always be downcast. So that is a person who is doing supreme deeds, but they are dedicated. So he's a yogi. So then it doesn't really matter what you are doing and how you are doing it. If it is not dedicated to the Lord, then it is not serving the right purpose. But if you're doing one or any of them, as long as you're doing it connected to the Lord, then you are superior to everything else, because that is the ultimate goal. So again, purpose rather than action is what we need to focus on. Kavita, will you read with us?
Connection. In this manner, up to this point, 4 principal disciplines have been described, namely Jnana Yoga, the yoga of direct perception, Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation, Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, and Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. Now, the Lord extols the yogi pursuing any of the above mentioned disciplines who adores the Lord with ever increasing ardor.
Yoginamapi sarvesham
Yoginamapi sarvesham
madgatenantaratmana
madgatenantaratmana
Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam
Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam
Same yukta tamo mataha.
Same yukta tamo mataha.
So yogi namapi, amongst all the yogis, sarvesham, completely. Madgaten is absorbed in me. Antaratmana is inner self. Shraddhavan are the ones who have the Shraddha, the faithful. Bhajate, bhajate would mean worships or sings my glories. Yukta tamo mataha. Mataha is as per my view, in my view. Yukta tamo is the best.
Even among all yogis, the most devout, according to me, is the one who, with his inner self absorbed in me and with full faith, adores and worships me. The intensely devout yogi, very dear to the Lord. In this shloka, a very important point has been stressed by the Lord. While pursuing any discipline, it must be clearly borne in the mind that self-realization is not the outcome of any action on the part of the aspirant. These disciplines only put a stop to the turbulence of the self, thus enabling the yogi to experience the ever-present glory of the infinite self. In this shloka, the aspirant has been directed to keep his mind fixed on the infinite power, kindness, and mercy of the Lord. which shines forth with every step taken in the path of the discipline. The Lord adores a person in the same way as the person adores the Lord. Accordingly, if an aspirant advances 10 steps towards the Lord also advances 10 steps in his benignity towards the aspirant. It is only that his steps is several times larger than that of the aspirant. This is why the Lord declares in the shloka that whichever discipline is pursued by the yogi with the inner self absorbed in him with full faith, he considers such aspirants to be the most devout.
So this is a great shloka for a transition into the next section, right, which is Bhakti Yoga. But the example that comes to my mind when I think of this actually is that of a parent and a child, right? Like when most of us here have our parents and we've had small children, and you can imagine, right? Like when your child is 2 years old and it just needs to call your name, right? And you know that child has so much faith, their entire survival depends on you. They have full faith in your being. And that child will take 3 small steps towards you. And if you think the child's in danger, you will run with your big feet and reach the child in 5 seconds to take care of him or her, right? And that act, if you observe, is the exact same act at the macrocosm as well, with us and Bhagwanji. We all, because we are shaped and we are born in his image, when we have his soul, he yearns for us the same way we yearn for our parents and our children yearn for us. It's the same cycle. And that's what he's asking us to remember, that in everything that you do, just have that full faith that I am taking care of you. Keep me in your being, keep me in your mind. And as you take steps towards me, I will rush towards you. Right? That's the love that he's asking for, the unconditional love and faith in him.
And then I would emphasize on this sentence that's written here, right? Self-realization is not the outcome of any action on the part of the aspirant. Whoopsie, then what are we doing, right? Karma yoga, karma yoga, karma yoga. Then what are we talking about if it is not related to our actions? The next sentence, these disciplines only put a stop to the turbulence of the self, thus enabling the yogi to experience the ever-present glory of infinite self. Ever-present glory. It is not coming from outside. So what are all of these actions related to? What are we talking about here? What he's saying is, what Krishnaji is saying is that if you want to look deep within, if you want to get connected to the Lord, you actually have to stop doing. Everything that we do makes the waters even muddier. Stop doing the actions that create the agitation in the water, that creates ripples in the water. Once you stop those things, that what will happen? The waves will stop. The rippling in the water would stop and the muddied water will slowly settle down. So everything we are doing here is for what? For controlling the agitation in our mind, for calming ourselves down. When the waters become still, when our mind becomes still through our karma yoga, through the practice of dhyan yoga, automatically we will be able to see through the water to the core, to the depths of the water. We'll be able to see the tal, the floor. And when we see that, yeah, when we see that depth, when we see that, we will see our infinite self inside. Okay, so we are not doing any action to get him. We're not doing any action for self-realization. All the actions we are doing is for calming the waters down. It's actually nivritti rather than pravritti. Nivritti is to give up our all our desires that cause the agitation in the mind in the first place. So all of Karma Yoga is a practice to give up our manyatai that we have gathered over a period of time, the false thinking that we have gathered over a period of time, to allow our innate qualities, the divine qualities inside of us, to shine forth. When the innate qualities show forth, we are in a state of calmness. And in that state of calmness, automatically self-realization comes through our own selves. It comes from deep within. It isn't something to be acquired from outside. Whatever we have acquired from outside is the kachara, the garbage, which now we are cleaning out. So all of the action is to cleanse ourselves. So that is another important thing here. Then another thing is, like, if you just think about our meditation that we do, the whole idea is that, when we focus on all the chakras all the way up to the 6th chakra here, the Agya chakra. And then from here to here, we don't go ourselves. All our actions will take us all the way up till here. After that, going from here to here is Bhagwanji's Anukampa. It is his anugrah. It is his blessings. It is his grace that comes to us. And then he says next, what does he say? That how does his grace come to us? His grace comes to us in the form in which we pray to him. And the pace that he takes towards us is directly linked to the pace at which we go towards him. Two things. The form in which his grace comes is the form in which we pray to him. The pace at which his anugrah comes to us, his grace comes to us, is the pace at which we go towards him. What does it really mean in terms of our daily lives? In our daily lives, it means, where is Lord? Where is Lord? Lord is all around us. He is in all of our VVGP. The way we behave towards our VVGP is our behavior towards him. So his grace will come to us in exactly that format. If we are nice to people around us, he will come back to us nicely. If we are always throwing anger in our environment, then his anugrah will come to us in that form, because we are praying him in that form. We are constantly praying to him in the form of anger by dealing with his subjects with anger. So his anugrah will come back to us in the form of anger. To give you a visual example of this, yeah, I'm aware it's 9:30. To give you a visual example of how to understand this is Hiranyakashyap. Hiranyakashyap was a person with a lot of anger and ego, right? And that is what he presented to the world around him. So how did the Lord come back in front of him? How did his anugrah come back to him? In the form of Narsim, a very ferocious form, because Hiranyakashyap's prayer to the world, prayer to Lord, was in the form of ferociousness, ferocity. So Lord's anugrah came to him in the form of Narsimha, very ferocious form. And his death was very ferocious as well. Ultimately, he gained the heavenly abode of the Lord, but in the same way in which his anugrah to the world was, in the way he prayed to the world, the same results he got back. Again, the pace at which we move towards him is the pace at which he moved towards us, is actually much higher. His pace towards us is directly related, but of a much higher form. This world is a magnifier. Whatever we give to this world, 100-fold will always come back to us. You sow one seed, it bears 1,000 fruits, and it bears them again and again and again and again. That is the nature of this world. You see it in trees, you see it in flowers. And trust me, if you have not noticed it, it also is true about our thoughts. The seeds we sow with our thoughts, which then translate into our feelings and then translate into actions in this world. every action we do in this world of any kind, a positive action, a negative action, bears 1,000 fruits manyfold. And that is why sometimes we see that a person did only this much effort and his results are outsized. Good results are outsized. Hey, he did not do much and yet, he got whatever, like, this person hardly studies and his marks are so much. Or a person has been putting in so much effort, but his results are not as much. This is all linked to a lot of other things we have done in the past and not that just one thing. Okay, so be very careful of what seeds you are planting in this world through your thoughts and through your feelings, how you are praying to the Lord, and not just when we are sitting in the puja temple, but how we treat the world. We are constantly praying to Lord in that fashion. The intensity of our effort, the intensity of our behavior, the intensity of our feelings when we are praying or when we are dealing with the people around us is the intensity with which the results will come to us as well. जितना strong intensity है आपका, उतना strongly आप उतने वो actions करोगे against every goal of your life, and that is the intensity with which you will reap the rewards of this world. That is the law of nature. That is the law of the Lord. Okay. I guess that's it. So we'll close the chapter here. Kavita, do you want to close the chapter?
Om Tatsaivi Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambade Dhyana Yogo Nama Shashtodhyayah. Hari Om Tatsat, Hari Om Tatsat, Hari Om Tatsat.
Thank you so much, Kavita. So we'll have the closing shlokas. Would anybody like to volunteer for that? Sanchita, Nena, would one of you like to do the closing shlokas? I'll put them up on the screen if you want.